Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday I'm back in the garage with Hettie. See you in a minute. Now, it's not strictly speaking true. What I'm doing is, now I've got a little bit of order back into the garage, I need to start and have a think about what I need to do to get Hettie back on the road again. And one of the main things I need to do is remember what I've got by way of spare parts, because it's been probably 20 years since I started work on it, and probably 15 since it's been tucked away in there, and quite honestly I can't remember what I'd got and where it came from, a lot of it. So we're going to have a look through the spares and see what we've got, and then that way I can start and have a think about what I need to do. So I just thought I'd take stock of what I've actually got in amongst all the spares, because it's been certainly 15, maybe even 20 years since a lot of this stuff landed, and I never really took a great deal of time to look at what I'd got anyway. I built the car up, put a lot of stuff away, and I honestly can't remember a lot of what I've got left. Fairly obviously there's an engine there which is completely untouched as far as I'm aware. It's a later in years model than the other ones that are in the car and the other spare one, so that may be the basis for the engine rebuild. We'll see. There's the main crankcase and pistons of one there. Spare oil radiator I got because I wasn't sure how I'd get on with cooling on the car. Spare bike radiator down there. Spare starter motor under there. That's the electronic ignition box. I may go for a fully electronic ignition because they're not that reliable. In fact there's two. That's the ignition bit, I'm not sure about that. They're all the electronics. There's the drive shaft, another spare drive shaft out that comes out the back of the engine there. So we've got a reasonable amount of spares. Spare back wheel. I've got two back wheels. I've got one with a tyre on it, one there, and of course one in the car. That's the back half of the engine that's in bits, and that one has got some damage, so I might not bother using that one. That's where the engine mounts, and it's had a bit of a knock by the look of it, and there's a hole straight through that. I don't think it's critical, but and it could be welded up and tidied up, but there's not much point if I've got three of them. It's the water pump housing on the back, and that's the stator which effectively drives the electronic ignition and that, which can be reused if I need to. And then under here, that looks like the innards of the gearbox. I think that's a full set of gearbox parts, all on. You can see the mice have been at work over the years. Let's just get that over and have a look and see what it is. See what state it's in. Yeah, that's spare gearbox, which again, considering it's been left in a damp garage, this isn't me, this is who I bought the car off, I think, who had obviously got another engine in pieces, and to be honest it looks like they've taken a lot of care to make sure that all the gears have been kept on with tape, and certainly that looks remarkably good condition considering it's stood for 20 years. No sign of rust at all. So again, if I'm rebuilding an engine, that could well be a starting point. The gear set is all nicely done, and I can check it for damage. What else we got under there? We've got clutch stack. Again, tiny bit of surface rust there, but again that's all been kept well. Huge amount of bits. Things like gaskets probably won't be any use at all because they'll have been bent. Some of this stuff I just don't know. Rear light lenses, those are for the same as my rear lights on this, so these must be something I've had. I presume they're spare lenses for it. A couple of them. In there. Clutch springs, camshaft, spare camshaft. That has got a little bit of light surface rust. We'll see about that. That might not be usable. We'll have a look. Hoses. Looks like an old bonnet latch, which again I've probably got because I've got to sort something out with the hinging bits. Again, that's part of the insides of the engine. So nothing too serious. So that surface rust is might polish out. We'll try that later. But we've certainly got a good clutch. And what else? Got a complete gasket set, but people tell me they're not worth using, the head gaskets, so I'll probably only use some of the rubber bits on it. We'll see. Spare back plate for the rear wheel. That's got the brakes, drum brakes for the rear. That's what I've got to alter, because at the moment that actuates the rear brakes mechanically, and it needs also some means of fitting hydraulic braking to it, so that when you put your foot pedal down it brakes the fronts and the rears, and then that'll just be used as the handbrake as it is now on the back, so that's okay. And last but not least, well, not last actually, but last in that shelf is a completely new, spare bevel box, which is the back. Takes the rear drive, converts it to right angles to drive the rear wheel. So that's looking a bit sorry for itself, but it's the gear on that that's the more important part. The rest of it's out in the open anyway. But we've got those. Put that away. And then I've got the cylinder heads. I've got boxes with left and right cylinder heads in, which are the ones that came off the car, I think, at the time. So they want cleaning and tidying up. New gaskets. There, okay. Two of those. Two boxes. And then I've got the cylinders heads that came off the other engine. Again, came to me in pieces. What I can't understand about these, which is why I think this must be the guy that had it before me, that was starting to rebuild an engine. One of them is painted up nicely with all its cradle on for the valves and the valves in it, and the other has all the parts loose. So whether he'd started to refurbish this one, there's a little bit, tiny bit of rust around one of the valve seats on that one that should clean up okay, but that looks a good sensible starting point for a rebuild. This one I'm not so sure about, because the weather hasn't been so kind to that one, I don't think, and that in particular, that valve seating is a bit poorly. Given that I've got 6 cylinder heads and I only want 2 engines, I might scrap that one. I'll have a quick look at it and see if it can be brought back, but that pitting might be too deep on it. And again, it's not beyond engineering expertise to be able to put new seals in, new seating in there, but it's hardly going to be worth it if I've got spare cylinder heads anyway. And then there's one last box. Some of the spare bits that came. I'm not sure, these aren't off my engine. Somebody else has also been down the same route as me, I think, starting to clean and polish both the covers and the cylinder head covers. But that again wants a bit of work doing to get it clean on the inside. So it looks like we've essentially got enough here. We've got the basis of 2 good engines and some spares. So, and I've got a spare transmission as well. So I think what it amounts to is I'll be doing a rebuild with a new engine, or a refurbished engine, refurbished drive, rear drive and brakes and everything, and then I'll have a complete spare set which I can do up at the same time, so that if anything fails you can just unbolt and rebolt something in. Right, so it looks as if I've got plenty of parts and they haven't deteriorated too much while they've been in storage. It's pretty surprising with some of it, because most of it has been stored at a time when the garage was a bit of damp in there, so I'm surprised how little rust I've got affecting anything. Got to start and make a decision now as to whether or not I take it right the way back to basics and start all over again, or whether I get it running as it is and then work my way through it with getting things like transmission sorted and get a completely new set and then swap it over later. It's going to need a respray whatever happens. The question is whether I bite the bullet and have it done now, or whether I get it going and MOT'd and everything like that and then worry about it afterwards. Something to think about now I've got all the bits sorted. I can't do anything out there at the moment because the bus bunky's going on in that area and everything's under 3 feet of dust, and I'm almost in the state I was in before I started. So it's going to take a while. Clearly I've got to get all the garage stuff sorted anyway, the roof, plastering, all the other things. So we'll get on with that as well, and hopefully sometime towards the end of winter that'll coincide and we'll get somewhere with it all. So I hope it was of interest. Look forward to seeing you all next week. We'll try and do something different then, and I'll see you then. Bye.